Hello again, everybody, and welcome into the Take the North podcast, along with Dan Wiederer of The Athletic. I am Mark Grote of Chicago Sports Radio 670 The Score. Dan and I are operating right now from the suites of Soldier Field, just down a row or two from the main press box, where Dan and I just got to watch a Bears romping of the Browns. Bears 31, Browns 3. And Dan, can we just take a moment to zero in on the fact that the Bears have reached double-digit wins? Chicago Bears are 10-4. They did what they were supposed to do today. They played a bad team, and the Bears acted like the really good team in doing what you are supposed to do this time of the year when you are in legit consideration for contention. Nice win for the Bears.
Very well said. They performed like they knew they were the better team the whole afternoon. This was not a flawless performance by any means, and I'm sure on Monday we'll get our typical dose of Ben Johnson of the things that need to be corrected and prioritized as they go forward into a much bigger game next week against the Packers here at Soldier Field. But this is a wire-to-wire win. It's a game that you found a way to break open after a stretch where it felt like you weren't going to break it open. And to get that momentum surge late in the third quarter to turn a game that you were controlling but had not yet put away, and to get that done in the fashion that they did, I think it's convincing. And it's convincing in a way that we've talked about this team all season. They understand the purpose behind each week and each game. They attack it accordingly, and I think you saw that today with the way they did things. Again, Grote, this was like true to the identity here. They ran the football well. They took it away. You know, they did all the things that they're strong at. Had a couple highlight plays from Caleb Williams. And the next thing, you're walking out of here at 10-4, feeling really good about your chances to get revenge on the Packers next week.
It's the blueprint. It's what you want to see from the Bears and this team, and really any team, because it was done well offensively, defensively, special teams, with Devin Duvernay setting something of a tempo early on in the game with a 52-yard kick return to win the game. So truly complimentary football today. And you mentioned, running the ball well. DeAndre Swift just was on one again today. 18 carries, 98 yards, a couple of touchdowns, including essentially the dagger, the 17-yard run in the third to make it 28-3 Bears. And I know we've talked a lot about Swift relative to last year and how different he looks, but I can't stop saying it because he's just so much more decisive this year. Obviously, the offensive line is better. We all know that, but he has become, under Ben Johnson, a serious weapon.
Under Ben Johnson, under Eric Bieniemy too. Don't overlook the idea that the uniting with Eric Bieniemy has given DeAndre Swift sort of clear set expectations of what is expected of him on every single run. We've heard it all year. Find a way to get 4.5 on the run that you're mentioning. He found a way to get 17. He looked like he was stopped near the line of scrimmage, saw daylight, was able to get out of a couple arm tackles, used his speed. I thought there was some good vision there. And next thing you know, he's in the end zone. And it's a big day for DeAndre Swift in what has been a really encouraging season for him. It contributes to a rushing advantage that the Bears had today. They ran it for 142. Cleveland ran it for 50, right? And so you flex your muscles there. Again, we talk about winning the turnover battle. The Bears get 3 second-half interceptions, one each from DeMarco Jackson, Jalen Johnson, and C.J. Gardner-Johnson. The next thing you know, you've got an opportunity to break a game open, which they did. And so it's really, I think it's just great. I think Caleb Williams after the game said it very well, where he just feels like this team has been tested in all sorts of different ways, under all sorts of different circumstances, in all sorts of different games, and has shown that they can respond to pretty much anything that's asked of them. And so now the next test will be bringing the Packers here to Soldier Field, obviously on a Saturday night, and seeing if you can pass that test. If you pass that test, all of a sudden the home playoff game is right there, back on the table for you.
Oh, yeah, man. And it definitely, Bears-Packers was discussed. It's already on their minds. Caleb Williams kind of alluded to it and, again, said sort of in a furious tone. You could kind of feel his anger if you really watched and paid attention. Again, lamenting the bad throw, his words, to Cole Kmet in that final game. And, just even talking to some of the other guys in the secondary. I think it was C.J. Gardner-Johnson. C.J. Gardner-Johnson saying, Dan, he said that game against the Packers pissed us off. His words, And I knew it, man. I mean, it was a terrible game for the secondary in terms of explosive plays. We know that C.J. Gardner-Johnson was exposed at one point in time in that game. Jalen Johnson, still not quite there. Not great for Kevin Byard on that day. We're going to keep talking Bears-Browns, but make no mistake about it, Dan. The Green Bay game has been on their minds, and legitimately should be on their minds. And I get it, like focus on the Browns, but you and I know damn well that behind the scenes, that coaching staff, they're not talking about it and promoting their players to talk about it, but they're thinking about it, and they should be thinking about it.
Well, I think one of the things here is when you're pissed off, the question is, how do you respond? And the response from the Bears came in the way they prepared this week, and understanding that they were the better football team when Cleveland came to town. Cleveland is a mess. They're a 3-win football team that's hurt. They didn't really look all that interested in competing for much of the day today. I think you probably observed the same things from up here in this press box, where you're like, this team just seems cold and disinterested in trying to dig deep to find anything today. And to the Bears' credit, they took advantage of that, and they made things happen. They obviously get out to the double-digit lead in the first quarter. That's a big step in the right direction. And then again, I think they hit a little lull, right? And they had gone 5 possessions without scoring, including a missed field goal by Cairo Santos, the shortest miss in his entire career as a Bear. And now you're saying, okay, there's a little bit of worry in the building. How do you get rid of this worry? Well, it happens with a DeMarco Jackson interception off Shedeur Sanders, followed on the very next play by maybe the most magical moment of the day, that 22-yard Caleb Williams to DJ Moore touchdown pass in the back of the end zone, which we can talk about for a couple minutes here, because every single person in this building, including the 54,000 brave souls that sat out in the seats behind us, thought that was a mistake when Caleb Williams let that ball go. From up above, it looked like, oh boy, that's a ball thrown into traffic. This is going to be a mess. The next thing you know, DJ Moore is behind the NFC logo right down there in the end zone. He's celebrating a touchdown that changed the game.
Really unbelievable, because it was like you're at the top of the roller coaster ride and you're about to go down and you're not quite sure if you're ready, and you just got that feeling as the ball is zipping through the air and it's just sort of dancing, felt like it was dancing through fingertips 22 yards to the back of the end zone where DJ Moore was standing. And that's a great thing to bring up, because that play was symbolic of a chemistry and a connection that was on between Caleb Williams and DJ Moore today that, quite frankly, has not been on a lot this year. It was a big topic of conversation throughout the week on The Score. You and I talked about it right here on the Take the North podcast. Everybody was talking about it because DJ Moore just has not been targeted as much. He did have today 2 touchdowns, not just that brilliant TD, which we definitely should talk more about. 4 catches, 69 yards, the 2 TDs on the day. And I don't know if you were there for DJ Moore, I do believe. Yep. And I brought up, I asked him, was this an important game for you? And he kind of poo-pooed it and kind of asked me, like, why would it be such a big deal? And I said, because we talked about it all week, the lack of, targets to you. And he kind of looked at me and to the rest of the media and said, well, I don't know. Will that shut everybody up? And then he conceded that it will never shut us up. But we're not going to shut up, because this was really good. And they needed to find that chemistry. And it was highly important that they were able to connect and on that 22-yard play especially, which was just brilliant.
Yeah, and there's a couple things that are symbolic there. Number one, you've got this longed for connection between Caleb and DJ that showed signs of life today. Now it has to become consistent for us to believe that it's going to be there. But you've had this consistent messaging from Ben Johnson. And even today, when he was asked about DJ's sort of emergence, he said, this is how DJ's been playing every week. We just haven't been able to get him the football or get the ball in his hands. And so there's obviously a concerted effort to make that happen. Ben has been very supportive of DJ and sort of taking some pressure off him in terms of getting this going and putting the pressure on himself as a play caller and Caleb as a quarterback to get DJ involved. And so that second touchdown comes after the first touchdown, which, as you mentioned, is a much lower degree of difficulty throw. They get man-to-man coverage. They get a play call that syncs up very nicely, and Caleb throws a really nice floating touchdown pass into DJ Moore's hands in the back of the end zone. And then the one that we're talking about, what's really interesting to me about this is in Philadelphia, Caleb had this what they call in the building a hero post, where it's a backside throw to Olamide Zaccheaus that he missed. And I had asked about it coming out of the Philadelphia game, because it seemed like one of those moments where it's like, well, Caleb is supposed to be this guy that can make some of the superhero throws. Why did he miss that throw to Olamide Zaccheaus? And coming out of the Philly game, Ben Johnson was like, well, that's a hero post. We really don't throw that very often. It's a rare throw to make. We don't even really coach the quarterback on it because it's so rare. And then Caleb today said, watch this. I'm going to make it. Similar play. Caleb, by his own description, saw that the defensive end that usually would create the pressure on that side had fallen down after running into Cole Kmet. So he felt like he had time. He saw a little bit of separation from DJ Moore. And then he said, I can make any throw. Like, those were his words today. He said, I can make any throw. And he made a throw that went right over the fingertips of Grant Delpit, right past the leaping Coleman, I think it was, the cornerback on DJ Moore, and then DJ catches it. And so it may be a little bit of an ill-advised throw, but if it's the thing that gets DJ unlocked a little bit and gets the Caleb to DJ connection unlocked a little bit, then you celebrate it and you say, good throw, kid. Nice job.
Well, I can give a little bit of context on for people who may have watched the Caleb Williams press conference, and we guess that a lot of people do by now, is that you heard Caleb Williams. He was asked a question during his press conference, got a little bit, was almost a little bit short with a reporter who did use those words, ill-advised. Was it an ill-advised pass? He said quickly, nope, I can make any throw. And, on to the next, you know what I mean? Like, and Caleb, like, that was Caleb being like, F you, man. Not personal. It wasn't personal or anything like that.
It's the confidence you don't want to take away from him, right? Like, so when you're coaching that up tomorrow in the room, and you like, if you're Ben Johnson, and even if in the back of your mind you're saying to yourself, we don't really want to make that throw. It's 14-3. It's first down. We want to make sure we score on this drive. You don't want to neuter what Caleb's great at. And then, as Ben said after the game, 99% of quarterbacks in the league aren't going to make that throw. They've got one of the 1%ers with the arm talent to do it. And so it's a really delicate balance of trying to coach that up properly without taking away the ability to hit a throw like that. And so we'll kind of see what Ben's day after reaction to that whole sequence was.
Well, here's the kicker to the whole ill-advised thing. Cole Kmet, in the locker room, we asked him about the play, and he literally said, jokes with a big smile on his face and laughing and seemingly wanting to get the line in. He's like, I don't know, what do you call that? Sort of an ill-advised play? And and Cole starts to laugh, and he's like throwing his arms up saying, this is why this guy was the number 1 overall pick. That's what he said, that he can make incredible throws like that. But Cole Kmet joked ill-advised. So then the reporter brought that question into the media room with Caleb Williams. Now, he didn't talk about the jesting Cole Kmet part of it, but that's where that came from. That was the trail into Caleb Williams, was a joke that Cole Kmet made. And maybe he was being half serious, but mostly just in awe of what Caleb did on that particular play.
That's why I say it's such an interesting play on a lot of levels. And I'm glad we have kind of that context from Philly too, where it's just like, okay, this is a similar play where they were like, yeah, don't worry about missing that one because we're never going to throw it. And then 16 days later, you throw it and you complete it. And you're like, okay, that's in the bag now. Like you have that in your bag of tricks and you can make that happen. Again, you can't stress enough, not only the brilliance of the playmaking there by both Caleb and DJ, but the timing of it, right? And coming after the DeMarco Jackson interception and just needing to land that uppercut on the Browns and then hitting it there. And it was over at that point. The game was probably over well before that, but that was like the convincing, this thing is done. And off the Bears went, adding, more scores on to make it a laugher by the day's end. But that was a huge moment in the context of this game. And ultimately, again, in the season.
Yeah, and I thought on the overall day, I thought Caleb Williams was really good. I mean, I got a few red marks on his day specifics, but mostly we are in a good place with Caleb on this day. I'll tell you what, Dan, I don't know what your favorite part of the day was for Caleb Williams, but for me, sort of ironically, it was on a missed field goal drive in the second quarter.
This is where I was just going to go. We're on the same page. Yeah.
I love that. I love that we're on the same page with this because I wasn't sure if it was ridiculous to talk about a drive that didn't end in scores. But Burden, 14-yard play. Colston Loveland to the left for 19 yards. Hit DJ Moore for 15, all on that drive. Hits Cole Kmet for 11 at one point in time. Unfortunately, at the end, the drive fizzles out with a Myles Garrett sack. I believe that was the only one he had on the day for Myles Garrett.
He got another half one. He had another half later in the game.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That's hey man. I hope he gets the record, but he did not disrupt or blow anything for the Bears today. That is for sure. But yeah, I thought that drive right there, man. Even though it fizzled out, and you had Cairo Santos missing the field goal, just ripping big plays of 10 yards or more, and obviously in there a couple of 15 yards or more as well.
Yeah, there were a bunch in a row there, and that was it for me. I circled it in my notebook in real time and was like, this is what a quarterback in rhythm looks like, and just dissecting and throwing and putting the ball where it needs to go. And you start stacking first downs, and you're like, okay, they're moving now. And again, it ends with a missed field goal, and the Bears end up going scoreless in the second quarter, which I thought at the end of the half they were a little bit clunky with two opportunities to score late in the first half and didn't get it done. And that's where Bears teams of old, you would feel that sort of anxiety bubble up where you're like, oh God, you just missed an opportunity. This is going to come back to bite you. Never felt that today. And that's a testament to who this team has proven themselves to be, because you didn't really worry about them today. You're like, they'll find it. They'll find it within here. And they've got enough playmakers on both sides of the ball to take advantage of this. And they did. Look, like when we talked in our game preview episode the other day, we talked about, getting after Shedeur Sanders in a way that made him look like a rookie. I said I was looking for 4 sacks and 2 takeaways. The Bears one-upped me in both categories. They had 5 sacks and 3 takeaways, right? So good on them for going the one-upsman route there. But that was a really good day. And you saw Shedeur today. Dennis Allen confused him, and then he did what we said he was vulnerable to doing, which was hold on to plays for way too long, and it resulted in several of those sacks. And then obviously I think, if you're talking about, to me, the 3 magical plays of the day were the touchdown pass we talked about from Caleb and DJ, the Jalen Johnson interception where you're like, how the hell did Jalen come out of there with that football, and the DeAndre Swift run that we talked about earlier. But that's a good moment for DJ. I'm sorry, for Jalen also, right, to come up with that takeaway as he tries to get back in the flow of things coming off the long layoff.
Yeah, especially, and I did ask him this, that interception came on the same drive on which Isaiah Bond burned him for a big play. Isaiah Bond, a wide receiver for the Browns, really fast dude, only guy worth anything today on their offense. And Jalen just said, the Bears were bringing the house. He was kind of on an island, and he beat him. So he just straight up said that. But I thought that was a little interesting. I will put honorable mention too, as far as the plays go today. The DeMarco Jackson interception in the third. I mean, this guy just keeps on coming out of nowhere and making plays. I love the play because he tips it up first, or it tips off his fingers, and then he has the concentration to bring it in. And that was, as you talked about earlier, that was the pick that led to the DJ Moore touchdown. And I was talking to DeMarco Jackson a little bit off the air, and I was like comping it to when a relief pitcher or a starter leaves the game, and then it's up to the bullpen to close it. And he was kind of looking at it that way too. He's like, I made the play on defense. Now let's turn it into something. And the Bears did turn it into something. So I enjoyed watching that. 5 sacks for the Bears defense and 3 interceptions on the day. They were making plays when they needed to, and they stopped the run today. The run was not a thing. I think Quinshon Judkins, 21 yards, I believe, on the day, maybe a couple more than that, but he was really not a factor. Yeah, not a factor. Shedeur Sanders, 18 of 35, 177, and he was picked off 3 times. I will say this really quickly too, Dan. The weather did matter today, as C.J. Gardner-Johnson pointed out to us in the postgame. All you had to do was look at the pregame warmups, and there were very few Cleveland Browns players on the field, according to C.J. Gardner-Johnson. So I guess he was sensing something early on, and you could just tell in the body language for sure.
Well, it's really funny because on Friday, the Bears went out to practice, and it was cold, and it wasn't this cold. But Ben Johnson came in between the walkthrough and the practice into the press room to do his normal press conference, and he was like, "Oh, it's good out there, good," and you could feel him sort of speaking the positive energy into existence, and like, we're going to embrace this cold on
Yeah,
Sunday, and
man.
this is not going to be something we think about in a negative fashion at all. This is going to be what we use to an advantage, and you felt like it was a little bit of an advantage today for sure. They seemed more ready and willing to survive in the elements than the Browns did. Again, the Browns are they're a last place, beaten up football team without a lot to play for. By the way, Tevin Jenkins started for them today, left the game with an
Left the
injury.
game, my guy.
I mean, it was like there's predictable things for last place teams, and we're on the other side of it now, watching it happen and going, man, it's great to not be on that side of it anymore. To your point, Quinshon Judkins today, 21 rushing yards on 12 attempts. Shedeur Sanders' passer rating today, a 30.3. Those are two impressive numbers for the Bears. The Browns did not have a first down in the first quarter. They had the first drive that they had where they had multiple first downs was the last drive of the game when the Bears were up 28 points. And so that tells you what kind of a dominant day the Bears defense had going against that patched together Browns offense, and it just all results in victory number 10, like victory number 10. That should not be understated at this point.
No, that's the lead, man. The Chicago Bears are 10-4 after a disastrous season the year before, making that memory fade just a little bit more. Let's do a couple things here. Dan, do you have some 3-word reviews before we give out some game balls? Do you have those prepared and refreshed and ready yet for us, or no?
I do. I was also just checking in on the Seahawks score because the Seahawks did squeak out a win over the Colts, so they got to 11 wins. The Packers are on their way to down 8 points, could lose that one, and they'll be behind the Bears again if that does occur. And the Rams on their way to their 11th win. They've got the football, 23 seconds left, beating Detroit. Let's get to those 3-word reviews, Grote, because these people, they give us their loyalty. We give them their time, right? So let me pull a few of these up
What
here.
did Potsy have to say?
Potsy, he's here. He's the first one on the list here. He says, Bears hold serve. That's what Mark Potash had to say here.
That's well said. Well said, Mark Potash. Can't get too excited. They held serve. That's spot on,
This
buddy.
one from Dilemma, he gives a relaxing game. And I think a lot of Bears fans agree to that. I think the Bears did their fans a favor today by getting them free reign to leave early, right? Like you go up 20, 25 points and you're like, okay, go get warm, everybody. You don't need to stay till the final gun.
Shout out to the double-digit Grote family members at the game today, sitting in the south end zone. Yeah, so just a quick shout out. Yeah, they decided this would be the game they'd go to. So
I love it.
They braved it.
They had electric blankets and all of the fun stuff that comes with that, right? Optimistic nihilism gives us expectations finally met, as well as now Green Bay. Those are two good ones as we get it back into Packers Week very quickly after we close the page on Packers Week. Bears Beavs gives us this one, and I like this. It's just very simple. Bears are good. You were a former Cubs guy. We are good, right?
Like, we are good.
People can say, shout out to Miguel Montero.
Yes. Shout out to Miggy. I would even throw a really behind that good. I'll give them the Bears are a really good team.
Yeah, I'll give you a couple more here.
Okay.
Luke gives us trap game D's. I think he's kind of turning his nose up on the idea that this was a trap game. I said trap game, schmap game the other day. We're on the same page. This was not a trap for the Bears. This was an opportunity. They used it as a springboard rather than a trap. I give them a lot of credit for doing so. And I'll give you the last one here from Burns Dad 32, who gives us please be healthy. And I think that's an important one, Grote, because Rome Odunze, a very late scratch, second consecutive week that we've gotten word right before kickoff that one of the Bears starters has gotten injured during pregame warmups or aggravated a pre-existing injury. Rome Odunze was active for today's game and then was scratched just before kickoff. And so you're really hoping that's there. Caleb survives a little bit of a collision late in the first half. It looked like that was going to be a worrisome moment as Case Keenum came out for the second half and took a bunch of throws on the sideline. Then Caleb came sprinting out and assured us after the game that was just nothing more than getting his leg ran into by a shin and having some pain for a few minutes, but he seems good. But that's a big deal here, right? Because the health factor of this is all coming into play as we watch out of our peripheral vision and see that the Packers might have lost Micah Parsons today, which is an incredible development. Just astounding, honestly. It's an unfortunate thing in Green Bay, but it's amazing that's what has happened, right? Like that's going to change the dynamics of everything next week when the Packers come to town.
Yeah, and what else? Let's do our game balls here. Let's bring in Adam Studzinski. I know Studs has been on the injury wire. Obviously, that's the big one. But what else? Who else is it? Christian Watson get hurt too?
Yeah, Christian Watson also left that game. If I was speculating, I would say it's some kind of collarbone injury. Zach Tom also left that game. So there's three big injuries for the Packers in that game. So yeah, that's the Parsons one was a non-contact knee injury, which I mean, we can all read between the lines. That's probably an ACL. Also, I mean, not pertinent to the Bears. Patrick Mahomes confirmed ACL tear today.
Crazy.
So yeah, it's actually been a pretty wild day around the league.
One of those days.
Yeah.
Knock on something.
One of those days. Yeah. We'll pan out a little bit. Yeah, seriously, man. All right, Dan, I'll let you go first. To whom would you like to give your game ball after the Bears' 10th, I repeat, 10th win of the 2025-2026 season?
I'm going to go ahead and give my game ball to DJ Moore. 69 yards, 4 receptions, the 2 touchdowns. It's been long awaited for DJ. He did get an official game ball in the locker room from the Bears. He gets to add that to this Take the North game ball that we're giving him. And I know he really appreciates the shout out here on Take the North. But obviously we talked about the meaning of those 2 touchdowns and just what it means to get him into a little bit of a flow here, particularly if Rome is hurt. And then Luther Burden left the game in the second half with what looked like a leg injury as he hobbled off. And so you're going to need DJ as much as ever. Good to see that life is in there, and he gets my game ball for today.
Adam, who would you like to give a game ball to?
I'm going to go with Caleb Williams. I thought that Caleb played pretty well today. I thought that he was extremely accurate. Outside of 1 or 2 passes, which you guys talked about, there was a few drops also. So yeah, I'm gonna go Caleb Williams. I thought he played really well. I thought the offense, for the most part, was in rhythm, which is what he played in rhythm. So yeah, I'm gonna go Caleb Williams, game ball.
Yeah, okay. I got no problem with that. Yeah, the first drive issues continue, but that certainly wasn't all on Caleb. I mean, he did miss a throw, but a Monungai drop, a false start on, I believe it was DJ Moore. So it was the same old story as far as I think it was Dan's colleague at The Athletic who tweeted the 6th consecutive game where the Bears don't score on their first drive. That said, Caleb Williams for me as well. I mean, I'm giving Caleb Williams the game ball again, just terrific. I'd like so many different things. We talked about that missed field goal drive, which was really good, but they're all sorts of good. So if Caleb ripped one down the middle of the field to Luther Burden for 40 yards at one point in time, we didn't even mention that. He had the 3rd and 3 pass to Colston Loveland for 24 yards at one point in time, just all sorts of different plays. Yeah, a couple of sacks that he did take that were hurtful in this game and a few things you can nitpick, but I am happy to give Caleb Williams my game ball for this 31-3 win over the Browns. Dan, any final thoughts from you on this Bears 10th win of the season?
Look, I was out to dinner with some friends on Saturday night, and I was talking about how interesting it is to have meaningful December football to cover. And now we're getting one of the more meaningful December football games that we've covered in a long time here, with the Packers coming to this building 6 nights from now for a primetime game against the Bears with a lot at stake. And so it's really, really cool to see this season unfold the way it has, to have these games and this juice to this late season run. And the Bears are opening up windows every single week, right? And understanding the opportunity that they have in front of them. And I just thought it today, even in an imperfect performance, that they handled their business the way it needed to be handled today. Now you flip the page, you get ready for Green Bay again, and you try to put your best foot forward.
Yeah, and I would imagine that the civic pride, which has been really blossoming since the win over the Eagles, and even previously to that, I imagine we'll see a little bit more blue and orange lit up on the sky, the skyscrapers, and all over the city of Chicago. So that's always cool when the Bears are winning. We know that, and we will continue to cover every second of it right here on the Take the North podcast. So we exit Soldier Field after a Bears 31-3 win over the Browns. For that guy, Dan Wiederer of The Athletic. For Adam Stadzinski, the executive producer of the Take the North podcast, also a producer with The Score, I am Mark Grote of 670 The Score, saying thank you so much for watching and listening to the Take the North podcast.
Great talk. See you out there.